Hello, welcome to the next little video on this channel, and I want to think this morning about making good decisions. It's something that I guess many people have been faced with. People have all sorts of responsibilities, maybe for your family, for yourself, maybe for an organisation, a church, a charity, whatever it is. And the current circumstances with the coronavirus pandemic have raised all sorts of questions, and there's so much uncertainty about what the future holds and what things are going to look like that you then have to start making decisions, and often making decisions in the absence of the information that you'd usually like to have in order to make the right choice. So you're left kind of guessing in the dark, and perhaps sometimes we've seen that writ large in governments, even at very, very senior level. Decisions are made, sometimes it seems, without the information that would really be essential to make the best choice. So I want to think about that this morning, because it can cause quite a lot of pressure and stress and anxiety. And as Christians, sometimes our default is to go to James, and it says, if any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God for it. And we like that because that suggests that what happens is you ask God, you pray, and suddenly God plops the right answer in your mind, and you know what to do, and everything's hunky-dory. And the added benefit, though we don't always say that, is it actually takes the responsibility of us from doing any hard thinking or making a choice. I don't think most of the time that's how it works. Sometimes, yes, God gives us those supernatural words and you know it's the right thing to do. More often than not, he leaves it to us to think it out and to work through this biblical thing of wisdom, which is quite a many-faceted, difficult thing to pin down. If you look in the Old Testament, particularly in the book of Proverbs and Ecclesiastes around there, it's called the wisdom literature. And it gives a really interesting insight into what God understands by wisdom and how he understands us to be using that in making these choices. And I was really struck recently by some verses from Proverbs chapter 2. I'm going to read those verses now and just share a little bit about what I think it means for us when we face tough decisions. Proverbs 2, and it's the first 11 verses, and this is what it says. My child, listen to what I say and treasure my commands. Turn your ears to wisdom and concentrate on understanding. Cry out for insight and ask for understanding. Search for them as you would for silver. Seek them like hidden treasures. Then you will understand what it means to fear the Lord, and you will gain knowledge of God. For the Lord grants wisdom. From his mouth come knowledge and understanding. He grants a treasure of common sense to the honest. He is a shield to those who walk with integrity. He guards the paths of the just and protects those who are faithful to him. Then you will understand what is right, just and fair, and you will find the right way to go. For wisdom will enter your heart, and knowledge will fill you with joy. Wise choices will watch over you, and understanding will keep you safe. It's interesting how it portrays wisdom as something that we cry out for, we ask for understanding and insight. We're desperate for it because we don't know what to do. In the previous chapter, in chapter 1, it talks about wisdom shouting out in the streets, in the public square, and that's an image that's picked up again in the beginning of Proverbs chapter 8. And that suggests something to me. I have this picture of a marketplace with everyone calling out their wares, and wisdom is one voice amongst many, and you actually have to strain to listen to the voice of wisdom amongst all the competing voices that are clamouring for your attention. And sometimes that is what it feels like when we've got a decision to make. There are so many voices, so many interests, so many people have got an agenda. Where do we turn to get the right idea about what we have to do? What really is wise in these circumstances? And the verses we've read talk about crying out for wisdom, for insight. The interesting thing about these verses as well is that they seem to mash together three things. Three elements of what I believe wisdom is. Firstly, it's about making good choices. And what that means here, and what that very often means for us, is about a kind of level of self-preservation, the choice that will cause me or those close to me or the organisation the least harm or will bring the most benefit, the one that will be best for us. And that's part of the thread that runs through here. It talks about God being a shield and guarding the path of the just and protecting those who are faithful to him. So it's making decisions that are for our best. But it also talks about integrity and honesty. God grants a treasure of common sense to the honest, and he is a shield to those who walk with integrity. And then there's another layer, because it talks about crying out for understanding, meaning that you'll then understand what it means to fear the Lord and you'll gain the knowledge of God. So what does all that mean for us in practice when we're faced with decisions? I think it means very simply that sometimes we have to do the hard thinking. God grants common sense, but he doesn't give the answer. We have to work out for ourselves what seems best in a given situation. That's not comfortable or easy, but that seems to me to be what Proverbs is suggesting, and certainly it ties in with my experience as well. But there are two clues in that will help guide us in that. First is this knowledge and understanding of God, and I think there's a bit of a loop going on here. As you're someone who prioritises getting to know God and spending time with him and understanding his word, these choices somehow, if they don't get easier, you get into a groove of how you can make them in a way that's consistent with the God you're getting to know. And secondly, and following on from that, there's this whole thing about integrity and honesty. And again, the individual choices might not necessarily get easier, but there's something about you being the sort of person who prioritises integrity, who prioritises doing the right thing in a sort of capital R right thing way, even if you don't know what the best thing to do is in a given situation. In practice, what does that mean? It means God doesn't always drop the answers to us on a plate. Praise God, sometimes he does. But when he doesn't, what do? We prioritise our relationship with him, and we prioritise doing things that will be good, that will be the right thing, that will be things of integrity and honesty, that will bring other people good and not harm. And then on the back of that, we can come to what we think the best decision is. But my instinct is, if we're prioritising knowing God better, and if we're prioritising being people of integrity, even if we don't quite get the individual decision right, the details are more likely to work themselves out, because that's how God has set up the world to work. I hope that's a little bit helpful. There's a whole lot of difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowing facts isn't the whole deal. Information, we're awash with it in the internet world. But actually wisdom comes from prioritising knowing God and prioritising doing what's right by him and by other people. And I hope you find that helpful. Thank you. Take care.